Welcome back to another episode of the Stay Connected podcast. I'm here today with Micheal Mittnick from That Golf Grind. Micheal, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I, man. You've been in the game for a while now. You've added a lot of value. Mike played or didn't play college golf at Ohio State, but participated there. Huge content creator now, and a lot to learn from just through your experience in the game, how you came about it, and what you've come to to realize now at such a young age. You're 22 years old, 23, and yeah, man, I really want to dive deep into how it all came about. Where did it get started for you? How did you get involved into the game of golf?
Yeah, so, growing up, kind of played all the sports under the sun. Main sport was baseball up until about the age of 12, but had always, gone to the driving range with my grandfather, with my dad, just for fun, and would play here and there. But towards I got closer to the age of 12, baseball was getting a little bit boring for me, so I wanted to change things up a little bit and just thought golf was a really great option. It was a lot more interesting thing. It was under your own control, which I liked. So I started to play competitively right about 12, 13 years old. Just local tournaments back home in New Jersey, where I'm originally from, and would do those. Worked with some coaches, started to get weekly lessons. I had a strength coach at that time because, at that age I was a little stick-like figure, didn't really have much meat on my bones. So working on getting stronger, hitting the ball further, and just started to play those local tournaments. And, as that kind of progressed into more national stuff, my goal was to initially play college golf. My mindset was pretty much honed in on that. Like, if I don't play college golf, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm sure we can get into that later. But that's kind of how it started, the transition from baseball to golf. And ever since then, it's, just been golf. And now I'm 22. So been doing it for a while now.
Yeah, and it's cool to hear from someone that's lived through the experience of playing competitive golf at a young age, playing junior golf tournaments and stuff. Could you share a little bit with the audience how your particular experience was with junior golf on the competitive level?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in the grand scheme of things, I probably got a little bit later of a start compared to some people with junior golf. I know people start with these junior golf tournaments at 5, 6, 7 years old, where their parents are caddying for them and stuff like that. I was a little bit later than that, so when I started, it was all myself and everything, me out there carrying my bag, hitting all the shots and everything. And I would say overall, the experience was good. And I'll get into this as we keep talking, but I would say the main thing for me is I would always put an unnecessary amount of pressure on myself when I was out there on the course and get in my head a lot. As a lot of people know, is golf is between your ears, right? It's all in your head, how you manage situations, how you handle yourself out on the course. And I always had the talent to play really, really well, hit the ball really long ways. So I have that going for me. But it was kind of the mental side of things that I let get to me a little bit. Never got frustrated on the course, never really showed any emotion, positive or negative, pretty even keeled. But it was mainly like the pressure I was putting on myself to do well, to perform, kind of got to me. And, transitioning into, high school golf and stuff like that, started to play better, play in some national tournaments, had some good finishes here and there. But I would say I never really performed to my potential. And if I were to go back and redo it over again, I probably would have done it a little bit differently, in the sense of, like, maybe my practice sessions weren't as deliberate and wasn't focusing as much, and quality over quantity in certain aspects. But overall, like, it was definitely a great experience to, one, learn the game of golf, and two, to learn a little bit more about myself and what I need to work on.
Yeah. That's such a fascinating topic to me because you know what you can go through like in junior golf, like when you hear the term the mental game, it's between the ears, it's all in your head. It can feel so confusing. It's like, dude, like I know I got to get my swing better. Like I know I just got to hit the ball better. It's like how much could it really be a mental game? I get it. I have to just stay calm and like, not overemphasize certain things and be disciplined here and there. Like what does the mental game really mean to you when you mention that?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to the main thing is just confidence in yourself and your abilities. Because if you're going out there and you have, a tricky little 150-yard shot over some water with bunkers guarding the green, like you hit that shot a million times on the range and to a stick on the range, and it's all great. But you get out onto the course, and I'm sure it's a lot of people's problems where, your range game doesn't transition onto the course, and you're wondering why. Well, you're standing over the ball on the course and you're like the only thing you're focusing on is the trouble. You're looking at the bunkers, you're looking at the water, you're saying, okay, there's no way I'm going to do this. And then your confidence in yourself is diminishing and you're not believing that you can actually do it. And I think that when it comes to executing things on the course and in turn having good scores, it's really comes with visualization and seeing the shot you're going to hit and committing 100% to that and not looking back. You know, even me now, right? I get onto the course. I'm like, man, I didn't commit to that. Like, why am I not committing to that? And you're putting the pressure on yourself. You're like, why I'm worried that this is going to happen. Like, I'm going to hit it in the water. But then you take a step back in the grand scheme of things, and you're like, if I hit it in the water on the golf course, like, is that going to really affect my life in any way? You're like, no, it's not. So then just like get that out of your head and just hit the golf shot. And 9 times out of 10, if you can kind of get into that state of mind, um, you're gonna see success out there. So that's kind of where I see the mental game is just confidence in yourself and believing that you can do it. And obviously that takes practice and it takes time to execute those things on the range, right? To one, prove to yourself that you can do it. So you're proving to yourself that you can do it on the range, and then on the course, you're believing in yourself and you have confidence that you can do it. That's kind of where I think there's the parallel and like jump over from the range to the course.
Yeah, and even to take it one step back on that, it's like when you say you visualize the shot during the time of the execution, like using your mind to your advantage during the actual round of golf. You can even go one step back and being like, okay, like who do you visualize yourself as like a golfer? Like when you see like yourself as the ideal golfer, like what does that vision look like to you? And that's stuff that you work on off the course before the round. I remember, for me, like to share a personal story during the USGA four ball, one of the things that I really realized, it was the first event I really traveled to like across the US to play. It was in Chambers Bay, uh, literally the other end of the country from Miami. And, I realized that just sitting down and visualizing who I was becoming as a golfer and feeling into that feeling of a confident golfer. Uh, I went into the round, and it was a natural thing to visualize the shot and like be in tune with the environment. It almost felt like it came as a byproduct of that, and I emphasized my focus on that and realized that I got really good results and was in control of my inner state. Is there anything that you do now, in particular, outside of the golf course to really hone in that mental side of the game?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I probably should be doing a lot more. But what I will say is I'm very into physical fitness and lifting and running and stuff like that. And I think, doing those things on the regular, getting in a routine, maybe some stretching and breath work there, learning how to calm yourself down in certain situations or stressing your body in certain ways, getting your heart rate up running, getting your heart rate up lifting heavy weight, stuff like that. That kind of, when you get into these stressful situations on the course, your body's kind of already prepped and it knows what that feels like. You're not putting yourself in yes, it's an uncomfortable situation, but you're prepping yourself by doing that in other ways. And it doesn't even have to be lifting or running or stuff like that. That's kind of just stuff that I do. That one, I enjoy, I feel good after, and two, it kind of helps with the mental side of things as well. But admittedly, I definitely need to do some more mental work and, you know, some more work on myself in the sense of what you were saying, like, who are you as a golfer? Like, I don't know if I can answer that question confidently right now because I really haven't thought about it. And by doing that, the stuff you're saying is that that makes it such an easy transition to when you're on the course. Like, it's like, okay, you understand that part of yourself. Now you're automatically visualizing shots. You're automatically seeing the ball go into the hole. Like, there's no doubts there. So, those are just some of the things that I do. But,
Yeah.
definitely a bunch of other things that I could be working on too.
100%. And on your, behalf, like it's not really something that's mainstream or common or you see most people doing. It's not something you hear most people saying either. So that's something for me as a junior golfer. My mom would tell me, "Hey, like maybe you should try meditating," and I'm like, "Meditating? Like I don't want to do that. Like that's like that doesn't make sense to me." And I never did it. And I played well through junior golf, but there was definitely like a lot I could have done better, and I could have been a lot more focused in certain areas. And the second I left junior golf and got into college, that's when I got into meditation and like being at peace with myself and what was going on within me. And I realized like the power of that, like what you can do. So for you, you played junior golf. Did you end up, you ended up at Ohio State playing club golf. How was that experience there, transitioning from junior golf to college golf?
Yeah, I mean, so like I was saying before, it was my goal. I was like, I'm gonna go play college golf, and I had some offers to play at a small D1 level, D3 level at really small schools, probably about like 20 or so places. But none of the places were really what I wanted, where I wanted to go. And I was like, I want to kind of be happy where I am first and foremost. The funny thing is, I actually did my first year at William and Mary, which is a school in Virginia. Didn't play on the team there or anything. Didn't like it, and then I transferred to Ohio State. So I did my freshman year there and all my 3 other years at Ohio State. And, obviously those golfers that are on the actual team are, tour ready golfers playing really some good golf. But, I did the club team, and it's such a big school where you have 60,000 students. Like, you have some good just recreational golfers on the club team. I would say like the traveling team or like the A team, kids were consistently shooting, I would say probably under 77, so it's some pretty good golf. So I did that for about a year or two. And then like my social media stuff started to get more time consuming, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But, um, you know, at that point, when I was doing competitive golf at Ohio State, and, even though it wasn't Division 1, it was still competitive golf. You would play 2-day tournaments and stuff. I started to not like it. I think it was the pressure I was putting on myself. And even though it was a tournament that in the big picture didn't mean anything, like gonna, it wasn't helping me get on the tour. It wasn't making me money. It just was a fun competitive thing. I would continue to put that pressure on myself and therefore not perform that well, to my standards, right? And at that point, I was like, I don't know. I just enjoy going out and playing on the weekend with my buddies, and a lot more than going and playing a competitive round of golf. And I think it was that pressure and that expectation for myself to do well in those situations. I was like, I don't know, it started to make me not love golf as much, and I didn't like that feeling. So after a year or like a year and a half maybe of doing club golf, I said, okay, I'm just gonna not do that anymore. And that's kind of when I was doing my social media stuff, throughout that whole time as well. But that's kind of when it started to pick up. So it seemed like a good time to, you know, put that on pause and, move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and you hit on a very strong topic there. I mean, the pressure to perform, given like what we think like the career as a golfer should look like growing up, at least for me, I've been playing since I was 3, always in front of the game. Always only had the aspiration to play on the PGA Tour. And, like I was like I got to play college golf and then, get to the tour. And that was always the vision that I had, and it was like if that didn't work out, then I, I have no chance. Like I got to do something else, and I don't know what I'm gonna do because I'm just playing golf all the time. And that's what's so fascinating to me. What's happening in today's world, which is what you're kind of capitalizing on. Which I mean, you started at an early age compared to most people, but like completely letting go of this illusion of like this is the only way to go to build a career as a golfer. There's more opportunities out there, and like actually learning how to capitalize on those opportunities. Could you walk us through a little bit about your content creation journey, how it started, and what it's evolved to now?
Yeah, sure. So it started back in 2018. So I was sophomore in high school. I was 15 years old at the time. I lived in New Jersey. It was snowing over the winter, and I played golf with a good friend of mine back there a lot. And I was like, "Hey, James, come on over and let's just screw around in the basement a little bit." And started filming some golf trick shots. And right, let's just make a little account and start posting them because at that time, that's kind of what some of the social media people were doing. Some indoor golf trick shots here and there. And we started to do that, do some cool stuff there. And a few times our shots got shared on ESPN, like SportsCenter Top 10, Golf Channel, The Today Show, Fox News, and a bunch of other places. And it didn't really like grow our account that much. We had like 4,000 followers. We weren't like, oh, we're going to grow this into something big or whatever. And then we got reached out to by the Steve Harvey show, and they flew us out to LA, and we were guests on the show. Like I said, this was back in 2018, so I was 15. Did that, and then after that, that's kind of when our competitive high school golf was starting to kick up. Oh, both wanted to play college golf, and didn't really have time for the social media stuff. So that was kind of like the birth of the social media stuff. And at that time, the account was called That Golf Grind, which it is still to this day. So it started back then, and then it kind of just, flatlined for a few years. And then I started it back up. I asked my friend, like, hey, do you want to do this again? He's like, no, not really. Like, just, it's all you, just go for it. So I started back up myself, and, just 4,000 followers pretty much at the time. And initially it started with trick shots, but then, growing up playing competitively, working with a few different coaches, kind of having a good understanding of the game, more than, the average person and the golf swing. I thought it was a good opportunity to share the game and help other people get better in a super easy to understand way. Which, some instructors are very technical, talk a lot about the numbers. It gets super confusing. People are thinking about a million things in their swing. So I was like, let me just simplify it for people. And I just started posting really simple golf tips. And for every single day for, 2 years pretty much. I didn't really miss a day, posted a lot. And it was pretty much a gradual growth from there. There wasn't like an overnight moment or anything. It was just consistency. I did it all throughout, I would say, sophomore year of college till now. I posted every single day, and it was just kind of a gradual growth of followers. Started to grow on other platforms and stuff like that. And now, I have over 700,000 followers across all my platforms. And it just kind of started with just the consistency of it. It never was meant to be, what it is now, a full-time job, what I'm doing full time. It was just something that I love to do. And I just kind of ingrained it into my daily routine. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the range this day, film 15 pieces of content, get my schoolwork done, post every day at whatever it was, 2:30, 3 o'clock. And that was just kind of it. I went to school for finance, graduated with a finance degree. Initially was looking for finance internships, and then, I didn't get an internship. I got to a bunch of final round interviews, and I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to take this as a sign to just keep doing my social media thing, right? Kind of going against the grain where all of my, peers and friends were getting internships that lead into full-time jobs. I was like, I'm just going to keep doing this. And it was doing well at the time, and just kind of sticking through it with that consistency. Now I'm doing it full time, live down here in Sarasota, Florida, and no complaints whatsoever. It's been great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's awesome, man. It's awesome to see the journey. And also, like, one of the things that I feel like is so important to emphasize, me that have also gone down a similar path to you, it's like we're not really trying to be golf instructors. Like, we're just people that love golf, know a lot about the game, and just want to share what we know. And a lot of people have that misconception and they start hating on the comments because they're like, dude, like, this isn't right or whatever. Like, I'm just here sharing like what my experience in golf is and like some stuff that can help, the people that are probably 99.9% of the people out there that are golfing because we've just
Yeah.
been immersed in the game for so much longer. So like with that,
We're just sharing what's working for us, and hopefully it's helping other people. It doesn't have to be,
exactly.
there's no right or wrong answer. We're just, hey, this has helped me a lot. This has helped me get to the point that I'm at. Go give it a try. See if it helps. If it's
Yeah.
not, it's just, so what? It's all good.
And it's important to note that like for anyone that's watching this that would ever want to get into making golf content, it's like you're not like converting into a golf instructor by giving tips and stuff like that. Like you're simply just a golfer that wants to share their knowledge and you just share your skills. Then it opens up so many opportunities for content because it's not just the tips. Even though you're helping people, like you're sharing, you playing a hole. You're sharing like other forms of content, like even the trick shots that you mentioned. And it's such a vast world in the content space that you can make. Like there's so many categories. So it's good too that I mean one thing I want to note, like your discipline and how you were able to structure it into a routine during college is very admirable. Like it's not an easy thing to do, but at the same time it is simple. Because I've gone through it's like if you just plot it out and you're like, all right, I'm gonna commit to this and do it, it's simple. And for a lot of people watching that want to do content and start it, like honestly, you should in whatever you're doing. Um, it's not that complicated. Like, what are some strategies that you've done to simplify this process and not make it super overwhelming?
I think the main thing is to make sure whatever content you're doing, whether it be golf or about whatever, is that you have to make sure it's something that you're passionate about. Because if it's not, it's going to start feeling like a job. And for most people, if it's feeling like a job, it's feeling like work, and there's a negative connotation towards that. Whereas for me, it was like, I like golf. I'm going to the range. I'm trying to get better. I can just film these few videos. They don't take very long to edit, 20, 30 minutes to edit. And, it just kind of, it matched my lifestyle already, right? I wasn't doing something, I wasn't going out of my way to do something else like, oh, this is going to get views, or this is going to make me money, or whatever. You just got to make sure it's something that you enjoy doing, because one, you're going to want to do it. You're going to want to get better at it. You're going to learn more about it. And two, it's going to make it so much easier to integrate into what you're doing because you're already doing it. And then now you're just filming a video about it. And, it might take up 20, 30 extra minutes of your day, if that, right? But if you structure it right, you kind of front load it, and then now you have content to post for the next few weeks. It's really not that bad. But you gotta, it has to be something that you're passionate about. And the other thing is, just like you said, just get started. That's like the main thing that people are like, I want to make golf content. I want to do this. Well, then I ask them like, well, have you tried? And they're like, well, I need the camera. I'm like, no, dude, just take your phone. You got a phone, right? Get a little $20 tripod off Amazon, set it up, and click record, and just post it. Your videos are going to get better the more you do it. You're going to learn more. You're going to learn more editing techniques and all that. but you got to start somewhere. Everyone that you see online started at 0 followers. And I guarantee you 9 out of 10 of those people didn't even really care about the number that was there. They just kept doing it because they liked it. And, you know, it'll grow if you stick with it. It's just
Yeah.
a matter of time.
Yeah, you really just gotta stick with it, man. It's an evolution as you go through, day in and day out. You're learning more and more. Like part of the process that's might be a little bit difficult for people would probably be like structuring it. Like, how do you structure your content to like stay creative, stay like unique, not do the same things over and over?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest resource for you is to just look what other people are doing and see what's working for other people. And some people will be like, well, is that copying people? Are you just doing what other people are doing? Well, yes and no. Like, yeah, you're kind of doing something similar, but what's making it different is everyone's different. Everyone has a different personality. So if you're looking at what's doing well, whether it be like going to play a hole with me, right? Like no one, like, remember this, no one owns anything on the internet, right? People brainstorm, people come up with ideas, and if they get upset at you for doing something that they're doing, then honestly they shouldn't be doing it because of like I think of like especially the creator um, world, like it's just kind of a big bowl of brainstorming and everyone kind of feeds off each other, right? One person comes up with a cool original idea, another person does it pretty similarly, but like one thing is different. And then you just kind of feed off of that. And then once you kind of have a few different things that you're doing, keep posting about it. And then whichever one's working the best, kind of just hone in on that and do that for a little bit and see how that's working. And then you can move on to the next thing. But use the resources, use the creators that you follow, use things that you see online to help you create the content. That's what I did, honestly.
Yeah, that's spot on, man. I mean, you got to have that type of process. But also, I want to talk about the algorithm because there's also a game that you're playing with an AI, with a robot, where it's like you got to learn how to play the game. And obviously the algorithm, people might say it's people. Like if people like you, they'll follow you and it should be good. But there's a lot of people that are really good people that are very likable people that don't get any views or anything because they don't know about the algorithm. What are some baseline things that people should know about like the short form content algorithm?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is you have to have a strong hook, because people nowadays have such a short attention span. If something doesn't grab their attention in the first 1 to 3 seconds of the video, then they're just going to scroll, right? So something in the beginning that's going to a scroll stopper, people call it, like, oh, this seems interesting, whether it's something you say, like whether it's something that's happening in the video, something to get someone's attention to stop scrolling. And then in terms of the video, especially short form, because people's attention spans are so short nowadays, just get right to the point, right? Whatever it is, if you're talking about a golf tip, if you're playing a hole, like don't lily dally and do all these things to make the video longer. Just kind of get to the point. People want to consume and then scroll, right? Because they're going to end up scrolling anyway. But if what you're doing actually is providing value right away, you're not egging them on to watch the whole video. Just get to the point and call it that. And then in terms of like the description and stuff, keeping it short and sweet works well. You can experiment with stuff and hashtags and all that. It doesn't matter too much, honestly, at this point. And then stories are great because it's helping your followers connect a little bit with you as a person, seeing what you're doing on the daily, and just being interacting with people who comment on your posts, because that's going to just help you build your community, and two, a lot of people don't do this, but interacting with other creators, big, small, whoever, like other people's content, comment on their posts, and it's all just helping build the community a little bit bigger. But those are the couple things that, in terms of structuring your content, that's kind of what you need: a scroll stopper and just get to the point, right? People want to consume what you're giving to them, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's the key right there with the content. I mean, if you're not like direct and, giving it to the people right away, like, and you can obviously like lead them on to something, but like just be sharp and effective with it. Definitely the key. So like now with you having a brand and having followers, a big community, how have you been able to monetize what you've built?
Yeah, I mean, I would say one, the creator community or social media in general is very closed off in terms of like how people make money. It's a big mystery, right? And for me, I didn't really have anyone to lean on. I didn't have an agent. I still do it all myself, right? But I've been able to learn a little bit more about it. So I'll first talk about like the progression of what it looks like to be a content creator and the certain things that, you can kind of expect. And there's no like rule book. There's no like book that says, okay, this many followers gets you this, once you get to here, this gets you this. It all just depends, right? So take that with a grain of salt. But initially, this is kind of how it went for me, and I'm sure Leo, it went pretty similar for you as well. But first, you're posting content, and a brand reaches out to you, and they're like, "Hey, we have a rangefinder that we want to promote. Can we send you the rangefinder at no cost? So here's a free rangefinder, and you make a video about it." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, great." Or like I did one with a putting green, and I was like, "Free putting green, sweet. Like I'll make a video about this." And it starts there, and you're like, so it's more of like a product exchange for a video. And then a company might be like, "Hey, we'll give you. I'll stick with the rangefinder. We'll give you a rangefinder, and we'll pay you X amount of money. Now can you post about it once you've gotten a little bit bigger, right?" So, like I said, there's no like, oh, 10,000 followers gets you this, 50,000 gets you this, right? It just, it kind of happens the way it happens, right? And it could be different for some people depending on the brand, but it then is like a product plus payment for a post. So you're like, great, I get a free product and I get paid. That was the progression for me. And then it moves on to more of like a long-term partnership type of thing with companies where you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to partner with you. The brand will pay you X amount of dollars, usually per month, for a certain time period that you agree with, and you use their product exclusively in that category, whether it be clothing. Usually, it's like clothing or clubs or whatever, and then it's a reoccurring monthly thing, right? So that's kind of where I'm at now, given the size of my audience, but that it's kind of started in that progression. So I would say like mainly my biggest source in terms of monetizing my content is my brand partnerships. I have a few brand partnerships where I have monthly contracts with that I work with, and yeah, like I said, I was never like, okay, I'm going to do this full time as a career. It was that consistency and me genuinely liking what I do that one grew me to that follower, the big audience that I have, and then two got these brands to say, "Hey, we actually see value that you can provide to them." And that's really what they want to see. That like the companies that you end up working with, even if it's just them sending you a product, they're doing that because they see that you're going to bring value to them, and it may not be sales. It may be like you're going to get this in front of people to see it, and that's really what it comes down to. That's kind of how I see the progression. Would you say you agree, Leo? I mean, is
Yeah.
your experience different, or
No, for sure. And eventually it grows into partnerships with golf courses like you're building right now with the Ritz-Carlton in Sarasota. Like that's a heck of an opportunity that you can't really get, like
right,
unless you're adding value like that. And
right?
that's and you hit on a really important thing I want to touch on before a couple of questions ago that we never got to, but that one person feeds another in this content pool, and that's what it is all about. Like it's a collaborative ecosystem. if you don't collaborate, like you're falling behind. If you don't, like understand what's going on in the market, then you're falling behind. So, as far as the collaborative side, that's where I feel like the transition is, from the framework or the mindset in your that you believe as you're coming up as a competitive junior golfer, college golfer, aspiring to be a pro golfer. Like, you can go down the lane of just competitiveness and give yourself a shot, bet on yourself to make it, um, or enter a world of collaboration in the golf space that is so much more fun, in my opinion, and it is stressful. I'm not gonna say it's not something it's no, there's no stress. Like, the amount of discipline that it takes to be a creator is high, but it just builds you as a person. Um, Mike, where do you see the future of the game going now that all this stuff is kind of rising with content creation and the different opportunities that are happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all sense a shift in some capacity, right? The PGA Tour just did a creator classic tournament where they brought a bunch of creators out and they played 9 holes at Eastlake before the PGA Tour event, right? And I think people and companies and brands are realizing the reach, and I hate to say it, I don't like using the word influence because I don't really see myself as an influencer. I see myself as a creator, but the influence that people with large audiences have in the marketplace, that you've seen, big YouTube groups like Good Sign with Callaway and some people with TaylorMade and whatnot. And, those groups of people, of how massive they are, they're probably, and I mean, not probably, they are getting more eyeballs on the products than some of these mid-tier PGA Tour players, right? It always used to be like these tour players have brand partners and they're on team Titleist or team TaylorMade or whatever, and they use their clubs, they wear their hats and everything, and it's like how much value the brands have to decide, like, okay, how much value is that bringing us, whereas a group like Good or Bob the Sports, like a cult like following that those people have, and they're using those products to the everyday golfer. Like, that's the main thing, is like we are more like the everyday golfer than the people you're watching on TV, right? Some are better, some are worse, but we're I can't even compare myself to the people on TV, right? So when I see other people using products that are more like me in my game, I'm like, hey, well, maybe I should check it out. So I think the shift is definitely there, and I think there's just going to be more and more interlocking with professional golf and the content side of things. You even see Bryson making
Yeah.
content now. So I just think there's just going to be, I don't know which way it's going to go. I just think there's going to be more intermingling with that type of thing. I don't know what you think about that, but
Yeah, man, it's definitely happening. And it's like now is the time to capitalize on it for anyone coming up that's hearing this and is, considering taking golf as something that you can build a career on, like, and you've been in the game for a while, or you've had some experience, definitely venture down this route. And it's important to note that, like, it's not like we are like the average golfer. Like, technically we are compared to the PGA Tour players, but some of us are good players, and it's just, hey, like, we just share the game in a different way. It's not like this professionalist thing. Like, we're just having fun out there. And like you said, that mindset shift where it's like you're not an influencer, you're a creator, gets you in the process of what you're actually doing. Like, I'm creating content every day as a creator. I'm thinking of how to piece these pieces together and, really tell a story. So that was very good for me, actually, listening to that as I venture through my path as a creator now. Um,
yeah.
so Mike, I think we shared a lot of really good things today. I think the audience definitely got a lot of value from it. I really appreciate you coming on. If you guys want to go follow Mike's journey at that golf grind, He's got a lot of great golf content and definitely helping the world of golf. So I appreciate you, Mike.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. Any final words you want to share?
No, I mean, yeah, just stick with it. It's a grind. Do it for the right reasons. Do it if you're getting into content, do it because you like it. Don't do it because you're like, I can make a lot of money from this. Because no one started because they're like, I'm going to make money with this. They did it because they enjoyed it. And if it turns into something like that, great. If not, you learned a bunch of skills that you can transfer into whatever else you do. So stay with it, keep grinding, and appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Stay connected.